The Mitsubishi Motors Badminton Horse Trials is renowned for being tough, for testing the very best in the sport of eventing. And last year, his first as badminton's cross-country course designer, Giuseppe Della Chiesa took the world's most famous three-day event to a whole new level. So with a few surprises up his sleeve, a change in direction to contend with, and 31 fences to position within the stunning parkland, what does he have in store for 2015?
Well, as always I say, I hope to have a good four-star track. As always, it's a very fine balance, especially when you work at this level here. You have the best riders in the world, and you must produce a test. You must produce a cross-country test. This is our sport. At the same time, you need to make sure that is fair to the horses, is fair to the riders, is at the level of what they can expect. As we saw last year, surely the conditions of the day can add another dimension. This is something you always learn lessons every time that you do the job. And surely last year we learned a lesson that strong wind and the going and the rain and the day can make something just go a bit over what you expected. I said last year I would have liked to have a bit more finishes. I know that everybody liked it a lot, and I know that the riders liked it. The riders like a challenge. I think for a course designer, designing badminton is a dream. So it's always a dream, and every year is a new dream. And as I said before, every year you want to try to do better. It is a difficult job. You understand after the first year you see more the dream, the adrenaline. Then you start seeing more the challenge. That is the other part. But I really look forward to this year. Traditionally, we always go up from the main arena. It works well, and we start and finish there, and that I think it works good. This year we are not having actually a fence in the warm-up area immediately out of the arena. We are actually using the two fences that we had used last year at the end of the course, and we're jumping them. So there are two Oxers with some hedges on, just to get the horses moving, and we're trying to get them a bit more inviting than last year in the way that you can really attack them and get going. Then we go to the quarry. The quarry comes quite soon. It is actually, interestingly, we will jump it exactly how it was planned last year. Unfortunately, on the day we couldn't jump the last element, we had to take it out, but this year hopefully we will have it in, so we'll have jumping the wall out. From there we go in the direction of Huntsman's Close. Actually there is a little chicane there, and I felt it was nice to have a small speed bump there. So we have a small detour around the tree with an Oxer, and then we go in Huntsman's Close.
Fence 8A and B, Irish Sport Horse Huntsman's Close, always a challenge, Giuseppe. Not more needs to be said, really, does it?
Well, yes, Huntsman's Close is a classic. The light can always play some kind of influence here. You're coming from outside and it becomes a bit dark. We are using purposely some light color here on the wood of these portables. These are big boxes. They are not small. They are actually related somehow in looser way than last year. They are at the beginning of the course. I'm confident they will jump well. There is a bit in the middle of trees, so I think the trees will also dictate a bit the route to the riders, and I think it might be also a help.
And of course with the light in the trees is always a little bit difficult for the horses, isn't it?
Yes, this is always a characteristic of Huntsman's Close, that you can get a bit of spot of light. We try to use light materials. The wood is light for that reason, the color, and the hedge is forgiving enough. But I think it's a good introduction to the rest of the course.
It doesn't really change much, this combination, does it? But it doesn't need to, because it's always such a challenge anyway. What do you need to do to it?
Yes, well, here you are in the middle of trees, you have a curve, and you must work on this curve. So from many years, maybe the material changes, the type of box can change, but the type of question is often similar. From there, we again have a new little addition of a village house. That is, I would say that is a breather, is again one of these fences that I introduced just to give a bit of a light up. I think is good before the south end part of the lake. It's just a simple hanging log jumping in, an introduction to water. It will be interesting maybe because you're coming uphill and you will see the lake quite late, but these horses are experienced enough to do that. Then we come to the main lake complex. The pickups are back there. They're back in their original position. So the pickups are there, the red pickups, very traditional, as an introduction to this combination in the lake.
Now this is a different view of the lake, isn't it? No stands, no food bars, just pure unadulterated lake. It's fantastic. And these are your famous willow waves, Giuseppe.
Yes. I love this shape and I love the material. This is something that in the past has been used here again, and we asked to have them back. And I think they fit well. Also the jumping in water, they are forgiving enough the shape, and they also have a bit of flexibility into them.
It's quite unusual material to be using in cross country, isn't it?
Well, we said before, it's nice to be able to use different materials.
I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
Straight in.
Straight in. So horses are coming from the pickups. There is a slight connection coming here. Jump in, and here you have immediately a true 4-star route on the right. You must immediately turn right and up the step, and this is a bounce to another willow. After they go turning round, back into water and jumping the boat, coming this direction to go out then and take their way back to the garden.
And unusually, you've got them coming into and out of the water at this part.
Yes. Actually, they're coming in and then back inside. I think, you know, there are a lot of spectators here. It's one of the key places, the lake at Badminton. It's nice to keep horses here for a while. And on the other hand, I don't know if they are so happy to stay here for so long, but actually we need to pace them also a bit. This is a very fast type of track when you have dry footing, dry going. And so it's good sometimes to keep them busy for some time.
Well, how do you think this particular water design might test them out?
Well, I think, you know, here it's the connection of the elements. You have the pickups coming in, and then you have a decent drop into water. You're actually jumping into water on what I would not call a skinny, but it's not a full, complete width fence. And immediately you need to have control after this drop to turn, find your way out the step to a bounce. I would say that then jumping the boat coming, that is just a simple fence, and I would call that nearly a let-up fence. But you're still in water, so you need to be careful. From here they go out and they go back to the garden. They're jumping the giant stable there. That should be again a kind of let-up fence for these kind of horses. And then we move to the new mound, where we have the logs, the stumps, a new positioning of the logs and the stumps.
So it's quite a long way, isn't it, from the lake then, Giuseppe? A big long gallop.
Yes, this is one of the stretches actually of gallop where you can recover some time.
And you've got the vertidrainers out, putting those all-important little holes in the ground.
Yes, that is part of the ongoing maintenance of the course that now happens since many years, and actually it's improved a lot the going.
And here we are then at what's become quite famous, the Swindon Designer Outlet Mound, fence 15 and 16. We'll come on to what happened in the middle bit in a minute, but first of all we have what is just a beautiful tree.
Well, yes, cross country is about nature, and here, you know, there are plenty of beautiful trees, and sometimes, sadly, they fall down, and when they fall, you jump them.
But it is fantastic. So just talk me through this fence then, Giuseppe.
Well, the idea here is, again, the big thing is about some terrain. The idea of cross country is moving about terrain, and so we want here to actually test the ability of the horse, of the balance of the horse. And we come with an introductory fence in. This is just a simple log. For these horses, it's just a welcome. But actually it's putting some kind of momentum that then needs to be controlled. If we move, we can go in that direction. It needs to be controlled down the hollow. And you can see already that is the fence where you want to go. So from here to there, what there is no pattern.
So quite kind of down that hill then.
Yes.
Across the, look, just some normal garden turf that's been...
Well, yes, this has been returfed to prepare under it.
And then up this, onto the top of the mound, and another lovely looking tree.
Yes, the idea again, from there you come, you keep your canter, you keep your balance, and there is a tree here, and it's not tiny, but it's actually narrow enough that you need some direction, and then actually you must come out on the element P of this combination, and so look for that, have a good jump here to be able to come out.
Is this a classic Giuseppe Della Chiesa fence? Or
well, I think that I personally like to use terrain, and so I think that that is part of, I like logs, so let's say that yes, probably is, we can call it a Giuseppe Della Chiesa type of fence.
And where does this rank in your fences here at Badminton? Is this one of your favourites?
Yes, I like a lot these trees. I like this nature. I like when the terrain moves. So yes, it's one of the places I like more.
Welcome back to the Mitsubishi Motors Badminton Horse Trials course walk. Following the Swindon Designer Outlet Mound, horse and rider will jump the FEI Classic Stick Pile at 17 before the next combination, the Mirage Pond.
Well, not long then after the Mound Giuseppe, we have the Mirage Pond, 18 ABC. And it's fair to say, isn't it, that this didn't ride particularly well last year?
Well, it caused some difficulties, and now this year we'll see it going the other direction. In reality, the test is always similar in one way, because you need to jump in. In water, the only thing is that this time you come from a single fence, jumping in, and then after you have a combination coming out. So we'll see how this works this year.
You said earlier you thought this might ride better this way round. Why would that be?
Well, I think as a principle, I think that coming in from there, it should be easier than coming from the combination. So it's a single fence coming in, and it's then a combination coming out.
This fence I always think looks quite innocuous when you're here kind of on a day where there aren't the crowds and everything, and I always wonder why it causes so many problems. Why do you think it's so tricky?
Well, I think, you know, it's always part of a course. You can't see a fence on its own. It's a part of a package, and when you put adding all the different pieces of the puzzle, then it becomes more complicated. Often what happens, I always say, when there is some movement in the terrain, the pattern, the strides changes, and you must adapt to what is there, and the horses also need to adapt and change their balance.
And it's one of very few brush fences on the course. Is that something
Yes.
you're not a fan of brush?
No, I think again there is a matter of balance, you know. I think that at the end of the day you must have different materials, but you mustn't overdo it. I think a bit of brush is good. Too much brush tends to get horses lower with their knees, and I think at the end of the day horses need to respect fences, and riders too.
And there is an alternative route, but it's long, isn't it?
Well, yes, you can just jump in, and instead of coming directly on this route, you just go around here, and you would jump that hedge coming from the other side, go through the bridge, and jump that log over the ditch there, and go away with that. So there is actually a longer route. The new thing is that we are not crossing again the ditch, and here where I talk of taking off a bit of intensity, I think this is the key place where we have decided not to cross the ditch again, so we are just jumping a straightforward Oxer, close to where last year and next year probably we will have our famous corner over the ditch, Vicarage V, and from there we move up to the new pond.
Now, Giuseppe, this is your baby, isn't it?
Yes.
Fence 20, the Gatehouse New Pond. Your whole idea last year, and unusually one of 4 waters on the course.
Yes, well, the new pond, the name says something. Actually, it's not a new pond, it's always been here. Interesting enough, it was quite different from how it is now. And we worked on it, and now is one of the 4 water complexes in Badminton.
Right, you've got your wellies on, so you're going to walk.
Yes.
We're going to walk through it.
Yes.
Let's hope they don't leak.
Coming in over a very classical, I would say, silver birch upright. It's quite airy, and also in this respect, I think, you know, maybe is is a bit uncommon sometimes. You know, there is a bit the idea of feeling a lot, but I think horses should be allowed when they come up the hill to see, exactly see through, see what is the question, and then operate through this.
And quite a steep drop down into this water.
Yes, actually they will land more or less on top of this, and then immediately they have one stride going down.
Because this is a natural pond, how do you regulate how much water's in here?
Actually we have just there a place where we can level the water.
So
and there is a drainage. Right? This is the water that we will have during the competition. This is the level of water. It's not too much, but it's enough.
It's a good depth.
Yes, it's enough for the horses.
And then a fairly standard skinny in the middle.
Yes, this is a typical skinny with some brush. You know, we're jumping water to water. We want to be a bit forgiving eventually here, but you need to have a good direction, and there is enough height to actually produce a jump here. And then you need, after immediate control, you need to keep control of your pace, and you need to connect the three elements together. There is not one single thing, the three things must be balanced. I would say from the skinny here, again, difficult to say what will be the pattern of the strides. It depends, you go wider, you go shorter. The important thing is to have the balanced direction and enough scope in your horse.
And important to remember, this is fence 20, so it is coming to the end of the course. The horses are going to be starting to get tired.
Surely, this now we are at the end of a strong section of the course, and we just came up a hill, so this also needs to be taken into consideration. But now we just gently go down the hill again. We have a let-up fence, the steeplechase fence before the rest to come.
It's not going to get any easier though, really, is it?
Well, no, it's badminton. Moving away from there, we go down to our traditional steeplechase fence. It moves a bit around the park, but it's always a reminder of the old steeplechase. So we like to jump that, and we are going directly from there to the hollow. There is no ditch anymore there, but actually, as a sunken road, you know, with one stride or two strides, there are more strides. And we have some roll tops coming in and coming up. Back in the park, in front of the house, in the main garden complex, to jump the two white gates. They jumped quite well last year. Let's hope they will jump the same way this year. It's quite a show jumping question, I would say. You need to slow down properly. There is a tight turn. Going out from there, we will jump the barrels. Again, quite a let-up fence, traditional fence of the course. And then we go back to jump what I would call the last real test of the course.
Right, this is the last fence we're going to look at in detail, Giuseppe.
Yes.
25-26, the Sense Silver Birch, named after Badminton's official charity this year, Sense.
This, I think, is the last test on the course. And interestingly enough, if you take each individual fence on its own, it's a very straightforward fence, and not a huge fence, doesn't seem too big. And where is the test? The test is at this point of the course. We are nearly at the end of the course, still controlling enough the speed of the horse, the balance, the direction. And here is all a matter of finding the right line. I think the fences are simple on their own, but linking them together is all the ability of the rider. It's
about the line, isn't it? So will you show me Giuseppe Della Chiesa's perfect line to fence 25 and 26, the Silver Birch?
Well, that's good, because I think every rider has his line. I can show you what I would ride, but I think that then anybody else, you know, depending on the horse. I think here the idea is to try to get in, as always, whenever you come in a combination, the first key point, have a good jump coming in, because this creates the right kind of frame in the horse. So the idea is to come a bit on the left of this fence, have a good jump, and let the horse travel forward for a couple of strides. So ideally, we are traveling in this direction. We mustn't get too concerned of the angle at this point. And we must keep in mind, at this point, I would be walking here, and I would be heading for the small tree down there. If I come too tight here, then after it would be very difficult. So it's a balance of accepting the angle on this fence to be in a position where you can then turn to the other fence. So I would be walking here, heading to that tree, surely I need to accept a good angle here. This becomes at this point quite a good spread, but I'm landing in a place that gives me the opportunity, allowing the horse again not be tempted to close the door too quickly, allowing the horse to travel still in this direction, and then finally turning and opening to jump this last fence. Again, we are going a bit in a different way at the end of the course, in the way we are not using the steps after having jumped a fallen tree, but we are actually passing close to them, around them, and we are going to jump a final combination of a hedge with two small narrow hedges on a slight curving line to come down finally to the keeper's brush, that is one of the most traditional fences of the course, and jumping the two presentation boxes from Rolex. That is the last request. It's just a small test for somebody that maybe gives it for granted that he has finished before the last fence back in the arena.
So that concludes our look at this year's cross-country track, a course only the world's best will tackle. For one, the hard work will pay off, hurdles will be overcome, and dreams will be realised. Join us to see who will become the Mitsubishi Motors Badminton Horse Trials Champion 2015.